The PowerPoint slide flickered on the conference room screen as I clicked through quarterly logistics projections. 23 executives in pressed suits leaned forward, hanging on every word about supply chain optimization. This was my moment. The presentation that would secure the Morrison Industries contract and finally prove that Nathan Pierce wasn't just another mid-level consultant grinding away in corporate purgatory. As you can see, our predictive modeling reduces delivery delays by 37%, I said, laser pointer dancing across colorful charts. My voice carried that perfect blend of confidence and technical expertise that had taken me 6 years to master. Then my laptop chimed. The notification popped up in the corner of my screen, a shared cloud photo from Clara. My wife had uploaded an image of a for lease sign outside some trendy downtown loft. The caption read, "Freedom soon," with a heart emoji. Not sent to me, of course, sent to someone named G in her contacts. My finger froze on the presentation remote. 23 faces stared at me expectantly, waiting for the next slide about inventory turnover rates. But all I could see was that stupid heart emoji mocking me from the screen. My phone buzzed. Text message from Clara. "I'm leaving for good. Don't call." I looked up at the room full of executives. CFO Morrison himself was checking his Rolex, probably calculating how much this meeting was costing per minute. I had exactly one shot to nail this presentation, and my wife had just chosen this moment to blow up our 8-year marriage via text message. You know what I typed back? "All right. Not wait, or we need to talk, or please don't do this. Just all right." Because here's what Clara never understood about me. I don't panic. I plan. "Gentlemen," I said, clicking to the next slide without missing a beat, "let's talk about contingency protocols. What happens when your most trusted supplier suddenly decides to abandon their commitments?" The irony wasn't lost on me. I finished the presentation flawlessly, answered every question about logistics optimization, while mentally cataloging every joint account, every shared asset, every legal vulnerability Clara had just handed me. By the time Morrison shook my hand and promised a decision by Friday, I had already activated the first phase of my response plan. Clara thought she was so clever, dropping hints for months about her mentor Gavin, who was teaching her about personal growth and reaching her potential. She stopped wearing her wedding ring to prevent damage at work, started staying out late to scout vintage furniture in remote locations. Classic cheater behavior, textbook, obvious. What she didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment since the first time she came home smelling like another man's cologne. I walked to my car, pulled out my phone, and made the first call. "Rodriguez Moving Services, this is Miguel." "It's Nathan Pierce. Execute Plan B. I need everything packed and out by 6 p.m. today." "You sure about this, man? That's pretty fast even for us." "Miguel, I've been paying you guys a monthly retainer for 8 months. Clara's belongings only. Everything labeled, everything itemized, everything stacked by the front door. Can you do it?" "Hell yes, we can do it. Give us 2 hours." Second call. "Precision Lock and Key, this is Dave." "Dave, it's Nathan Pierce on Maple Street. I need a complete rekey, all exterior locks, emergency service." "That'll run you $450 for same day." "Perfect. Make sure you leave the receipt somewhere visible." Third call. "Shapiro and Associates." "Mr. Shapiro, it's Nathan Pierce. Remember that dissolution paperwork we discussed? File it today. I have written documentation of spousal abandonment." "Nathan, are you sure about this? Once we file—" "I'm sure. Clara just texted me that she's leaving for good. That's abandonment in writing. File the papers and serve them at her office tomorrow morning." Fourth call. Rocky's boxing gym. "Rocco, it's Nathan. You said if I ever needed to hit something, I should call you first." "Jesus, kid, what happened?" Clara finally pulled the trigger. "I'm about to show her what happens when you mess with a logistics expert." "Good. Come in tonight. We'll work the heavy bag until your knuckles bleed. Just remember, hit back harder than they hit you." I hung up and sat in my car for exactly 60 seconds, letting the reality sink in. 8 years of marriage, gone with a text message. 8 years of supporting her interior design dreams, listening to her complain about clients, pretending not to notice when she started working late 3 nights a week. But you know what? I felt relieved. Clara always said I was boring, predictable. She had no idea what I was capable of when someone tried to screw me over. She was about to find out. I arrived home at 3:47 p.m. to find Miguel's crew already deep into Phase 1. 3 guys in matching blue uniforms moved through my house with military precision, wrapping Clara's designer furniture in protective blankets and sealing her clothes into labeled boxes. "How's it looking?" I asked Miguel, who was supervising from the living room. "Your wife's got expensive taste, man. This Italian leather couch alone probably cost more than my truck." He gestured to 2 guys carefully maneuvering Clara's prized sectional toward the door. "But we're making good time. Should be done by 5:30. Perfect. Clara usually got home around 6:15, after stopping at that wine bar downtown where she'd been meeting her mentor, Gavin. I'd tracked their little rendezvous through our shared calendar app. She wasn't nearly as sneaky as she thought. I walked through the house, watching my marriage get systematically dismantled. Miguel's crew had clearly done this before. They knew exactly which items belonged to whom, probably from the detailed inventory I'd provided months ago when I first hired them on retainer. "Nathan, what about this?" Miguel held up a framed photo from our honeymoon in Tuscany. Clara and I, sunburned and grinning, standing in front of some medieval cathedral. "Hers," I said without hesitation. "Everything with both of us in it goes to her pile." The truth was, I'd already removed every photo I actually wanted to keep. The good memories were safely stored in a safety deposit box Clara didn't know about. What remained were just props from a marriage that had been over for months. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Gavin. We need to talk." Ah, the famous mentor. 41 years old, real estate developer, divorced twice, currently separated from wife number 3. I'd done my research. I texted back, "Nothing to discuss. Clara made her choice." "You don't understand. This isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you've been screwing my wife for 4 months. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, "Meet me at Murphy's Bar on 5th Street. 1 hour. Pass. I'm busy packing." I blocked the number and went back to supervising the move. Dave from Precision Lock showed up at 4:15, just as Miguel's crew was loading the last of Clara's bedroom furniture onto their truck. Professional timing. "All exterior locks?" Dave asked, hefting his toolbox. "Every single one. Front door, back door, garage, basement. I want completely new keys." "What about your wife? What about her?" Dave shrugged and got to work. I'd used his services before for rental properties. He knew better than to ask too many questions. While Dave rekeyed the locks, I handled the digital side of the separation. Removed Clara from all shared accounts, canceled her credit cards, changed passwords on Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, deleted her access to our home security system and Wi-Fi network. Clara had always been careless about money, assuming I'd handle all the boring financial stuff while she focused on her creative career. She had no idea how many accounts we shared or how quickly I could cut off her access to everything. Miguel knocked on the door at 5:43. "All done, boss. 57 boxes, 3 furniture pieces, and about 40 bags of clothes and shoes. Everything's labeled and stacked exactly like you wanted." I walked outside to inspect their work. Clara's entire life sat in neat rows on our front porch, each box labeled in Miguel's careful handwriting. Kitchen items, Clara. Bedroom clothes, Clara. Bathroom supplies, Clara. It looked like a very organized yard sale. "Perfect," I said, handing Miguel an envelope with their payment plus a generous tip. "If anyone asks, you were hired to help with a move, nothing more." "You got it. Good luck, man." Dave finished the locks 20 minutes later, leaving his $450 invoice prominently displayed on top of Clara's boxes. I made sure it was the first thing anyone would see when they walked up to the porch. Then I went inside, poured myself a beer, and waited. Clara's key hit the front door at 6:18 p.m. I heard her try it twice, then rattle the handle in confusion. Through the window, I watched her notice the boxes for the first time. Her face went through a fascinating progression of emotions: confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally something that looked almost like respect. She pulled out her phone and called me. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail again. Then she started pounding on the door. "Nathan, open this door right now. What the hell is this?" I finished my beer and walked to the front window where she could see me, made eye contact, shook my head slowly. "Nathan, you can't do this. This is my house too." I held up my phone and showed her the screen, a photo of her text message from this afternoon. "I'm leaving for good. Don't call." Her pounding got more frantic. "I didn't mean it like that. We need to talk." I opened the window just wide enough for my voice to carry. "Clara, you said you were leaving for good. I helped you pack. Your boyfriend Gavin can help you move these boxes wherever you're going." "How did you—" She stopped herself. "Nathan, please. Can we just talk about this like adults? Adults don't abandon their marriages via text message during business meetings." I closed the window and walked away. Clara stood on the porch for another 10 minutes, alternating between pleading and threatening. Finally, I heard her on the phone, presumably calling Gavin to come rescue her. While I waited for the cavalry to arrive, I opened my laptop and began phase 2 of the plan. Gavin pulled up in a silver BMW at 7:23 p.m., 40 minutes after Clara's desperate phone call. I watched from my upstairs office window as he surveyed the boxes with obvious dismay. This wasn't how he'd planned to spend his evening. Clara ran to his car like a damsel in distress. They had a heated conversation, lots of hand gestures and head shaking from Gavin. Finally, he popped his trunk, and they started loading boxes. It took them 3 trips to fit everything in his car and Clara's Honda. Watching them struggle with her heavy designer furniture was almost therapeutic. Miguel's crew had made it look effortless, but Gavin was clearly more comfortable pushing papers than pushing couches. After they drove off, I cracked open another beer and got to work. See, Clara thought she'd been so careful about covering her tracks, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd never bothered to learn how our shared digital ecosystem actually worked. Every photo she took automatically backed up to our joint cloud storage. Every location she visited got logged in our family tracking app. Every purchase on her credit cards sent notifications to my email. For 8 months, I'd been watching her affair unfold in real time through data she didn't even know she was sharing. The evidence was overwhelming. Photos of romantic dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together. Screenshots of apartment listings she'd been browsing. Location data showing regular visits to Gavin's office building, his apartment, and a seedy motel on Route 9, where they apparently went when his place wasn't available. But the real goldmine was her text message backup. Clara had never figured out how to properly delete messages from our shared iCloud account. Every dirty text she'd sent to Gavin was sitting right there in the cloud, automatically synced and time-stamped. "Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Nathan's working late, come over. After we get my divorce, we can be together properly. He's so boring. You make me feel alive." 4 months of evidence, hundreds of messages, a complete timeline of emotional and physical adultery. I saved everything to an encrypted drive, then started building dossiers. Gavin Morrison, yes, Morrison, as in the son of the CEO whose contract I'd been pitching this afternoon. 41 years old, currently separated from his 3rd wife pending their divorce settlement. 2 previous bankruptcies. A gambling problem that had cost him his real estate license in Nevada. Currently working as a development consultant for his father's company, probably because no one else would hire him. Most interesting of all, Gavin owed serious money to some very unforgiving people, According to court records, he was being sued by 3 different creditors for a total of $847,000. His estranged wife was demanding alimony that he couldn't afford. His trust fund had been frozen pending the divorce. No wonder he was interested in Clara. She looked like a meal ticket. My phone rang. Clara. Nathan, we need to talk. I thought you were leaving for good. I was upset. I didn't mean it literally. Really? Because Gavin seemed to think it was pretty literal when he helped you load all those boxes. Silence. Then, how do you know about Gavin? Clara, I've known about Gavin since your second date. Did you really think I wouldn't notice you coming home at midnight smelling like another man? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been cheating on me for 4 months. You decided you wanted out. I'm helping you get out. Nathan, please, I made a mistake. Can we just… I hung up. She called back immediately. I sent it to voicemail. Then I called Rocco. Rocky's boxing gym, this is Rocco. It's Nathan. Is that heavy bag still available? Always. You coming in tonight? On my way. I needed to hit something before I started phase 3. Rocco's gym occupied the basement of an old textile building downtown. The air smelled like sweat, leather, and industrial disinfectant. Exactly what I needed. You look like hell, Rocco said, wrapping my hands with practiced efficiency. Talk to me. I told him everything while we worked the speed bag. Rocco had been my trainer for 3 years, ever since I'd decided that a logistics consultant should probably know how to handle himself in tough situations. He'd seen me through 2 major client disasters and a minor nervous breakdown. He knew how to listen. So what's the plan? He asked after I'd finished recounting the day's events. Honestly, I'm making it up as I go. Bullshit. You're the most methodical guy I know. You've got something cooking. He was right, of course. I'd been planning for this scenario since the first time Clara came home late with a lame excuse. But I wasn't ready to share the full scope of my revenge yet. Let's just say Clara and Gavin are about to learn that actions have consequences. Just remember, hit back harder than they hit you, but be smart about it. I spent an hour working the heavy bag, letting muscle memory take over while my mind processed the day's events. By the time I left the gym, I knew exactly what phase 3 would look like. Clara had wanted freedom. I was going to give her more freedom than she'd ever imagined. I woke up Thursday morning to 17 missed calls from Clara and a voicemail from Gavin that was equal parts threatening and pathetic. Nathan, this is Gavin Morrison. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Clara and I are just friends. She's been helping me with some interior design work. Nothing inappropriate has happened. Call me back so we can clear this up like gentlemen. Right. Interior design work. At midnight, in motel rooms. I deleted the voicemail and checked my morning routine. Coffee, shower, news, emails. Everything normal except for the complete absence of Clara's morning chaos, her blow dryer, her frantic searching for missing earrings, her passive-aggressive comments about my boring breakfast choices. The house felt peaceful. My phone rang at 8:15 a.m., unknown number. Nathan Pierce speaking. Mr. Pierce, this is Jennifer Walsh from Shapiro and Associates. We've served the dissolution papers to your wife at her office this morning. She's requesting an emergency meeting. What kind of emergency? She claims you've illegally locked her out of her own home and stolen her belongings. I laughed. Ms. Walsh, I have a text message where she explicitly states she's leaving for good. I helped her pack. How is that theft? She also says you've frozen all her accounts. I've secured my accounts. She's welcome to use her own money. Mr. Pierce, she's threatening to file for an emergency restraining order. On what grounds? I haven't threatened her, contacted her, or prevented her from retrieving her belongings. In fact, I helped her retrieve them. Silence. Then, she wants to meet this afternoon to discuss terms. Tell her my terms are simple. Uncontested dissolution, no alimony, equal split of marital assets. If she agrees to that, we can have this wrapped up in 30 days. And if she doesn't agree, Then she can explain to a judge why she abandoned our marriage for her boyfriend. I hung up and drove to work, where I had a normal day of meetings and project management. Around 2 p.m., my assistant knocked on my office door. "Nathan, there's a woman here to see you. Says she's your wife's friend." Tina Rodriguez walked into my office like she owned the place. Clara's best friend and co-worker at Morrison Design Studios. 29 years old, ambitious, and according to Clara, the only person at work who really gets me. "Nathan, we need to talk." "Do we?" Clara is devastated. She's been crying all morning. This whole thing is just a big misunderstanding. I leaned back in my chair. "Tina, I appreciate your loyalty to Clara, but this isn't a misunderstanding. Your friend has been cheating on me for months." "That's not true." "Really?" "Because I have about 400 text messages that say otherwise." Tina's face went pale. "You've been spying on her?" "I've been paying attention. There's a difference." "Nathan, Clara loves you. She's just been going through a rough patch. Gavin was helping her work through some personal issues." "Is that what we're calling it now? Personal issues?" "You don't understand. Clara felt trapped in your marriage. She needed someone to talk to." "Tina, I really don't care what Clara needed. She made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences." "You're being cruel." "I'm being practical. Clara wanted out. I'm giving her out." Tina stood up, her face flushed with anger. "You know what? Everyone at work always said you were cold. Clara defended you, but they were right. You're heartless." "Maybe, but I'm not a cheater." After Tina left, I sat in my office thinking about Phase 3. Clara was clearly panicking, sending friends to negotiate on her behalf. That meant she was starting to understand the scope of what she'd lost. But I wasn't done yet. At 5 p.m., I drove to Morrison Design Studios. Clara's office was in a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. Very trendy, very expensive. I parked across the street and waited. Clara emerged at 5:23, walking with Tina and another woman I didn't recognize. They stood outside the building for several minutes, clearly having an intense conversation. Clara looked terrible. Red eyes, wrinkled clothes, the kind of disheveled appearance she usually reserved for stomach flu. Gavin's BMW pulled up at 5:31. I took photos. Clara got in the passenger seat. They drove off toward downtown, probably heading to some restaurant where they could plan their next move. I followed them. They ended up at Marcello's, an upscale Italian place where Clara and I had celebrated our 5th anniversary. The irony was perfect. I parked where I could see them through the restaurant's large windows. Gavin was doing most of the talking, gesturing emphatically while Clara picked at her food. She looked miserable. My phone buzzed. Text message from Clara. "Please call me. We need to fix this." I texted back, "Nothing to fix. You broke it. Now you deal with the pieces." "Nathan, I'm begging you. I'll do anything." "Anything?" "Yes. Uncontested divorce. No alimony. You keep your business, I keep the house. We're done." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally. "I need time to think." "You have until tomorrow at 5 p.m. After that, we do this the hard way." I put my phone away and watched them through the restaurant window. Gavin was leaning across the table, probably trying to convince Clara that everything would work out, that they'd figure something out together. He had no idea what was coming. Neither did she. Phase 4 would begin tomorrow. Friday morning brought a development I hadn't anticipated. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant knocked on my door again. "Nathan, there's a gentleman here to see you. Says it's urgent." Gavin Morrison walked into my office wearing a $1,000 suit and a desperate expression. Up close, he looked older than his 41 years, stress lines around his eyes, the soft physique of someone who'd given up on taking care of himself. "Nathan, thank you for seeing me. I didn't agree to see you. You just walked into my office." "Fair enough." He sat down, uninvited. "Look, I think we got off on the wrong foot." "Really? Which foot would that be? The one where you started screwing my wife, Or the one where she decided to abandon our marriage for you? Gavin winced. It's not that simple. It seems pretty simple to me. Nathan, Clara, and we connected on an intellectual level. She felt misunderstood in your marriage. Intellectual level. Is that what you call it when you're texting about wanting to feel her body against yours? His face went red. You read her private messages? They weren't private. They were backed up to our shared cloud storage. Clara never bothered to learn how technology works. That's an invasion of privacy. It's my cloud account, my privacy to invade. Gavin leaned forward. Nathan, here's what I'm proposing. Clara and I will end our relationship. She'll come back to you. We can all pretend this never happened. I stared at him. You want to give her back to me? Like she's a borrowed lawnmower? That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant, look, Clara is confused right now. She's not thinking clearly. If you take her back, I'll transfer to our Seattle office. You'll never see me again. And why would you do that? Gavin's composure finally cracked. Because I can't afford a scandal right now. My divorce isn't finalized. If my wife finds out about Clara, she'll take me for everything. I'll lose my job, my trust fund access, everything. There it was. The truth. So this was never about love, I said. You were just using Clara to feel better about your own failing marriage. That's not... And now that there are consequences, you want to throw her away and run to Seattle. Nathan, please. I'm offering you your wife back. Here's the thing, Gavin. I don't want her back. He blinked. What? Clara made her choice. She chose you. Now you get to keep her. But I just said... I heard what you said. You want to abandon her to save your own skin. Well, congratulations. You're about to find out what it feels like when someone you trust decides you're disposable. I stood up. This meeting is over. Nathan, wait. We can work something out. I have money. No, you don't. You owe $800,000 to various creditors. Your trust fund is frozen. Your estranged wife is bleeding you dry. You don't have money. You have debt. Gavin's mouth fell open. How do you know about my finances? I'm a logistics consultant. Research is what I do. You investigated me? I investigated the man who was sleeping with my wife. Seemed reasonable. I walked to my office door and opened it. Get out. Nathan, please. We can... Get out before I call security. After Gavin left, I sat at my desk and realized something had fundamentally changed. For 4 days, I'd been focused on revenge against both Clara and Gavin, but watching Gavin try to throw Clara under the bus had shifted my perspective. Clara had been naive and selfish, but Gavin was something worse. He was calculating. He'd targeted a vulnerable married woman, used her for his own gratification, and now he wanted to discard her the moment it became inconvenient. My phone rang. Clara. Nathan, Gavin told me he came to see you. He did. He said you refused to take me back. That's right. Why? I thought about how to answer that. Clara, do you know what Gavin offered me? He said he'd leave town if you took me back. He offered to abandon you to save his own reputation. The man you threw away our marriage for just tried to trade you back to me like a used car. Silence. Clara, are you there? He said it would be better for everyone if we went back to how things were. And what do you think about that? More silence. Then, I think I've made a terrible mistake. Yes, you have. Nathan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything, but please, can we try to fix this? For the first time in 4 days, Clara sounded genuinely remorseful. Not panicked or defensive, but actually sorry. Clara, I need you to understand something. Even if I wanted to fix this, and I'm not saying I do, there's no going back. You didn't just cheat on me. You planned to leave me. You were ready to start a new life without me. I was confused. You were decisive. You made a choice. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was 4 months of deliberate deception. I heard her crying on the other end of the line. Nathan, what do I do now? Gavin says we need to cool things off. I don't have anywhere to go. I can't afford my own apartment without the income from our joint accounts. And there it was, the moment I'd been waiting for. Clara, you have 2 choices. You can sign the uncontested divorce papers and walk away with half our assets and your dignity intact. Or you can fight this, and I'll drag every detail of your affair through public court proceedings. You wouldn't. Try me. Nathan, please. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll never see Gavin again. It's too late for that. It's not too late. We can fix this. Clara, listen to me very carefully. You have until 5 p.m. today to sign those papers. If you don't, I'm filing a contested divorce and subpoenaing every text message, every photo, every piece of evidence I have about your affair. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly why our marriage ended. You're bluffing. Am I? The line went quiet. 5 p.m., Clara. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I hung up and checked my watch. 11:47 a.m. Phase 5 would begin at 5:01 p.m. At 4:58 p.m. my phone rang. Mr. Pierce, this is Jennifer Walsh from Shapiro and Associates. Your wife has signed the dissolution papers. I felt a strange mixture of relief and disappointment. All of them? Yes, sir. Uncontested divorce, asset division as specified, no alimony requested. She's also agreed to expedited processing. What's the timeline? With her cooperation, we should have everything finalized within 3 weeks. Thank you, Ms. Walsh. I hung up and stared out my office window at the parking lot below. After 4 days of psychological warfare, it was over. Clara had blinked first. My phone buzzed. Text from Clara. I signed the papers. I hope you're happy. I typed back, I'm not happy, but I'm free. Nathan, I need you to know something. I really did love you. I know you did. That's what makes this so sad. Can we at least try to be civil, for the sake of our friends? That was an interesting question. Our mutual friends had been carefully avoiding the topic of our separation, probably waiting to see how the dust settled before choosing sides. Clara, I don't hate you, but I can't pretend we're friends. I understand. Good luck with Gavin. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, Gavin and I broke up this morning. I stared at the message. What happened? He said the situation had become too complicated. He needs to focus on his own divorce. So Gavin had cut and run exactly as I'd predicted. Clara was now alone, unemployed. She'd quit her job to avoid the gossip, and facing the prospect of starting over at 33. I'm sorry, I texted back, and surprisingly, I meant it. No, you're not. Clara, I'm sorry that you got used by someone who didn't deserve you. I'm not sorry that you're facing consequences for your choices. That's fair. It is. Nathan? Yeah? I hope you find someone who appreciates you. I hope you figure out what you actually want from life. I think I already know. What's that? To not be the kind of person who destroys good things. I stared at that message for a long time. It was the most honest thing Clara had said in months. Take care of yourself, Clara. You too. I put my phone away and drove home to my empty house. For the first time in 8 years, I was completely alone. No Clara's design magazines scattered across the coffee table. No arguments about whose turn it was to do dishes. No passive-aggressive comments about my boring routine. Just silence. I ordered Chinese takeout, opened a beer, and sat on my couch, the one piece of furniture Clara hadn't claimed, thinking about what came next. My phone rang at 8:30 p.m. Unknown number. Nathan Pierce speaking. Nathan, this is David Morrison. It took me a moment to place the name. Then I remembered Morrison Industries, the CEO whose contract I'd been pitching when this whole mess started. Mr. Morrison, How can I help you? Nathan, I owe you an apology. I just learned about my son's involvement in your personal situation. Ah, Gavin had confessed to Daddy. Mr. Morrison, your son's personal life isn't my concern. Nevertheless, his behavior reflects poorly on our family and our company. I want you to know that Gavin will be taking an extended leave of absence to address some personal issues. That's between you and him. Nathan, I also want you to know that your presentation this week was exceptional. We'd like to move forward with the contract. I sat up straighter. Sir? Logistics optimization, 3-year deal, everything we discussed. Are you still interested? The Morrison Industries contract was worth $2.3 million over 3 years. It would set me up for life. Yes, sir, I'm very interested. Good. My assistant will call you Monday to schedule the contract signing. And Nathan? Yes, sir? I'm sorry about your marriage. Gavin told me what happened. You handled a difficult situation with remarkable professionalism. Thank you, sir. After Morrison hung up, I sat in my living room laughing. Clara's affair had cost me my marriage, but it had just earned me the biggest contract of my career. The universe had a twisted sense of justice. My phone buzzed one last time, text from Rocco. How'd it turn out? I won. Good. You coming to the gym tomorrow? Yeah, I think it's time to learn some new moves. That's my boy. Hit back harder than they hit you. I finished my beer and went to bed in the center of my king-size mattress for the first time in 8 years. Clara had wanted freedom. She'd gotten it. So had I. And I was going to make the most of it. 3 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Clara moved to Portland to start over.